Hey y'all, I got something cool to show you, at least I think it's cool. In the video of me and my dad, I pointed out that my dad has a t-shirt with his picture on it, and I said, I don't have a t-shirt with my picture on it, but now I do. It's this. Look, it's me. Lincoln's not wearing it for some reason, but he's got a Shoggoth and Cthulhu and Mr. Shiny and ghouls and me, and my wife asked me, are you turning into a monster because there's a dark, scary part? I said, no, I'm turning from a monster into a person. And if you are desperate for one of these shirts, you can find it on Redbubble in the Petersen Games store. And if you're not, and it comes in other ways than shirts. You can get pictures of it framed, and you can get, I assume you can get a body pillow of it, so you can hug me and go to sleep. I don't know. Anyway, I was really proud of it. Even if you don't want one, I was proud to show it off. So that's it. So let's go on to today's topic, which is Dimensional Shamblers. In Lovecraft's collaboration, The Horror in the Museum, there is a scene where the hero sees a hideous half-ape, half-insect monstrosity lumbering towards him, claws outstretched. As a classic gritty Lovecraft hero, he faints dead away. When he wakes up, he's being dragged away by the thing, and he hears it talking, but it's speaking in the voice of Rogers, the museum's proprietor. He realizes that it's the guy wearing a costume. So he attacks and defeats Rogers, and Rogers says he was wearing the hide of a Dimensional Shambler to scare him. That's it. That's all the information we have about these things. Everything else I had to deduce about these creatures, but the idea of an animal that moves between dimensions fascinates me, so I've made some logical assumptions. Presumably, these things live in the gaps between the dimensions, moving from one to another. They would be nomads, no world of their own. Whatever their origin was, they don't have a world now. It has talons on its forelimbs, letting it grip or grasp things, indicating that it is probably a predator, since it has no need to burrow or climb if it goes to the dimensions, right? It can take its pick of any foodstuff from any dimension that also makes being a predator make sensible, because one of the features of predators is that they eat high-quality food. Plant eaters don't have to eat high-quality food. Some, like monkeys, do because they focus on fruits or whatever. But if you can pick anything anywhere, I mean, I would just eat lobster all the time, right? So presumably the Dimensional Shambler is doing something like that. Now, here is my most complete description of the Dimensional Shambler based on years of thinking about it and working out what it would be like. So the multiverse has millions of planes of existence. Different times, different dimensions, different whatever. All of these coexist from the viewpoint of the Dimensional Shambler. But between these planes is nothing. Let's call it the nothing. True emptiness. This gap between the universes is barren. There is no energy. There is no light. There is no life, with a few terrifying exceptions. While the Dimensional Shamblers couldn't have originated in this nothing between the dimensions, that's where they are now. They can move from the timeless nothing to other dimensions with ease. You can't tell when they got into the nothing because the nothing is timeless. If they're there now, they've always been there and they always will be there. Their goal is to abduct entities from other dimensions into its own. Now, I thought it was lame to have them take you into their dimension and then just eat you. I mean, seriously? You don't need to have dimensional travel to do that necessarily. You just want protein out of these people? So I came up with something more interesting related to the Dimensional Shambler. So the Dimensional Shamblers, what I posit, we have this dimensional travel, it's got to take energy. They come into your dimension and they grab you, and then they take them back into the nothing through the nothing, and take him to another dimension. When a victim is yanked into the nothing, I think it produces an astral trail that leads back to the original universe. Then, when you deposit the victim in another dimension, that astral trail now links the two realities, and it sets up an energy differential. The Shamblers feed off this differential. Now, I'm sure Shamblers can feed by other means. Maybe they can just eat you. It's my theory that this differential between the two universes is much more profitable for it in terms of energy. Of course, this is surmising on my part, but the idea of an ambush predator that just eats you seems lame. This is far more Lovecraftian and is more interesting for games. Usefully, from a game master point of view, the Dimensional Shambler doesn't dump you in a universe that instantly kills you because it wants that Astral Trail to survive for a few hours at least while it feeds off it. Of course, it doesn't care if the experience makes you go mad or you're in pain, as long as you're still in existence, so they have that trail. So it would have to find a universe that was kind of compatible with you. So this is a great or dire storyline for a book or a game. Your hero was hurled into a universe, and he has to find his way back before the Astral Trail is eaten into nothingness by the Dimensional Shamblers. That's a lot more interesting than just being kidnapped and eaten. And it sets up a cool time element for your game. Now, you can see in my Shambler images, a lot of them, the creature is distorted or asymmetrical. Sometimes his feet point opposite directions. An arm might be askew. The idea here is obviously that it's twisted through the dimensions as it makes its way to Earth. And that's the visual effect as we peer at it through the dimensions. Now, I also posit that the thing has to actually grasp you firmly. That's why it has talons, to drag you back through the dimensions. And there's a chance it will fail. You might be able to get away. You might possibly escape. We know they're not indestructible because in the story, or in the museum, Rogers either somehow killed one or he found a corpse. Either way, they're not indestructible. I would further add to the suggestion to make it more interesting that the target being taken and kidnapped must have a strong enough life force or soul energy or whatever you want to call it to set up that astral cord. I would say that a tree or a hamster wouldn't give the Dimensional Shambler enough energy. Otherwise, why focus on humans? But the emotions and the thought and the spirit of a human, that's tasty. Now, luckily, the multiverse is big. The chances of a Shambler hitting Earth are pretty slim. Even if there's trillions of Shamblers out there attacking quadrillions of beings every day, in the whole multiverse, he's never going to get to you. Unless you summon one. Now, Lovecraftian magic isn't real magic, it's just weird science. But there is clearly a way to connect with or signal to a Dimensional Shambler, enticing one to your location. Why would you do this? Well, if you have some way of defending yourself from the Shambler, and you can figure out how to communicate with it, you can perhaps get it to do something for you. Perhaps even promise a reward. Take this victim now, you say as you gesture to your friend you've tied up. Then go to the Smithsonian's warehouse and steal me the Ark of the Covenant. If you do, I will give you 3 more victims. Well, the Shambler says, that's easy for me. You know, there's a whole scenario, right? But in the end, the idea here is that we have a monster which is also a means of moving people around between universes. And this is a really fun idea. So the next question is, has this idea ever been brought to life? Well, yes. Here's 2 movies I'll talk about, which have very Shambler-like enemies. Banshee chapter is connected to government experiments. It's got these things from another dimension. To me, it seems like Dimensional Shambler-like. Then we have this other movie called, unhelpfully, just They. And again, in the movie They, we have a thing which ties into you from your childhood, so it's kind of ignoring time, and it's weird. So there's a couple movie and some information for you. Dimensional Shamblers are really a horrifying threat. You cannot hide from them. You cannot barricade yourself. You can only be prey, and they always attack you by surprise. So watch out.